and welcome to our podcast. My name is Natasha.
And my name's Lauren.
Join us as we discuss all things Neighbours.
And it's unfinished business.
Hi there.
Welcome back and thank you for joining us for episode number 20. So after today, guys, we are actually going to be taking a short break for the summer, but do not fear, we will be back and we look forward to seeing you when we come back.
So, what do we have planned for this episode?
So, of course, we're going to be discussing the latest episodes, but we're going to be looking at our top 5 dads at Erinsborough, sorry, as it's actually Father's Day in the UK today.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Let's get cracking then. Where should we start?
Let's get a cracking. So when we last spoke, the last episode, we had missed one episode. We still had an episode left to go. And I think we were talking and discussing, oh my God, what's her name? I've got it here. Amira and Nicolette and their like looks and stuff. Obviously, since then, we have since learnt that Nicolette and Amira have spent the night together. In it was so bizarre. The episode just started and there was this sudden like flashbacks, and I was like, what is going on? I was like, have I missed something? Have I missed an episode where they like got together? But obviously we see in the episode like how it happened and stuff. So obviously Nicolette and Amira have hooked up, etc. But Nicolette's dad, Vic, has been interfering in Byron and Nicolette's relationships and getting a little bit intense and telling both Amira and Sadie about marriage and the future and basically scaring everyone away. Yeah, just getting very, very intense. I mean, you would though, wouldn't you? If you were knowing that you were going to die, basically, and you want your kids to be happy. I mean, would you?
I mean, have a word with the kids. Yeah.
Oh yeah, obviously. Yeah.
Say I want you to find someone, I want you to find someone to marry. I want you to be happy. But to then be talking to the significant others, bearing in mind that one is a hookup and the other, they've only just started dating.
Yeah.
So, and they're really young. Well, Sadie's really young.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, that was just a bit.
And obviously that's now made it like super awkward for Nicolette because like I think, Nicolette actually probably got a little bit too many feels towards Amira, and Mira was a bit kind of like, freaked out by the whole situation. And yeah. So, but I think the good thing that's come out of this is that obviously Byron has now spoken to Sadie and they've been really open with each other and cleared the air and actually admitted that they love each other. And I actually really like this couple. When at the start when he was with Reese, I was like, what the hell is this? And then I was almost willing him to be with someone nice. We thought there was that. We thought he'd slept with Mac at one point, and it turns out they hadn't. And then him getting with Sadie, and I'm like, actually, this is a really cute coupling, and I'm actually really liking it. Let's go to well along the same lines of like the house share, etc. So Haz has obviously come home this week from hospital, and Mac is trying her best to spoil him and treat him and do all these nice things, but obviously Amira is now taking full control and not letting Mac anywhere near him. She stops him going to Harold's, and he ends up doing this exercise in the back garden. And Haz is there being like trying to reassure Mac that it's not going to be forever. Yes, she can be a little bit annoying, but at times, but she's going to eventually go, etc. And I think the last straw for Mac was when that she learnt that Amira had actually seeked out legal advice from her family friend or something, and was like, well, hang on a minute, I'm a lawyer, or I work for Toadie, etc. I know all this kind of stuff. Why did you not come to me for help? And she obviously then lashes out, and says to Amira all this stuff that has said, etc. Um, so yeah, like, what do you think about this whole like
I'm
situation?
I'm actually finding Matt really annoying.
Oh, really?
Mm, I think, I mean, Amira clearly isn't like, she has attitude,
Mm,
right? So I understand how she would be winding people up. But at the same time, I feel like Max very, almost to the point of being quite sensitive. So, you know, Amira doesn't really know you. You've been dating Has for not that long. So it's not like you've been dating for years and, you know, you've got a say in what
mhm,
happens
mhm,
with Has, and how he should be looked after. But also, the family lawyer thing, like, why would Amira go to you? Why
mhm.
wouldn't she go to a family lawyer, someone who she's familiar with? Um, I don't know. I just feel like she's being a bit too sensitive, and rather than thinking, "Oh, she's being controlling," why not try to get to know her, try to make an effort with her? And I
Yeah.
just feel like she's feeling insecure
Mm,
about probably her relationship with Has,
yeah.
and she's almost like allowing Amira to walk all over her.
Mhm.
So she's trying to be defiant and go, you know, she's being controlling. Like, just let her, and they were estranged, and now, like, I don't know, it's family. Family is
But
family.
yeah, but also I think at this point with Mac not really knowing where and how and has lie within their relationship because they haven't yet had that conversation about
Yeah,
where
it's
it's
that
it's going
insecurity.
next. Yeah, so
Yeah.
she's probably she's feeling a bit kind of like, oh,
But she's
like
taking it out on Amira. And at the end of the
yeah.
day, like, I understand how she must be feeling,
Mm,
like, when it's a fairly new relationship and you don't really know whether you have a leg to stand on about certain things, and especially as they've been friends beforehand and
yeah.
housemates beforehand, so she feels like she should have more of a say than maybe she actually does.
Yeah.
Um, but it's just like, calm down, like, this is
Yeah.
family,
Yeah.
and maybe use this as a chance to get to know her, as opposed to being like, "Well, why didn't you use me?" Well, why would she use you? You haven't been
Yeah.
particularly warm towards her,
No.
and rightly so. Like, you ran Has over, so of course
Mm,
if she has a chip on her shoulder about you doing that, then
yeah, exactly.
you're supposed to maybe get her to warm to you as opposed to pushing her away.
Mm,
But yeah,
yeah.
that's my
No.
view anyway.
And I mean, they obviously they sort it all out and stuff, but Amira's now said that she's leaving, and I was a bit kind of like, well, they made this big song and dance about this new character coming in, like what, and she's now leaving. A bit kind of like, was that all that we are getting from her, or I think is there room for her to come back because there's obviously now talk of her saying, well, come and meet my family. So is Amira going to come back in some way? But I also think there, I don't know, because there's obviously now rumored, well, it's not rumored, it's been announced that Kiri's character is coming back into it. So I'm like, will Amira be back and something will happen between her and Nicolette, but then Kiri comes back. It's so, yeah, I'm like, I don't know, this is the last that we've seen of Amira because I think she's quite a strong character. Like I
Mhm.
quite liked her.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah. Um, let's go. So talking of Nicolette, um, let's go to Vic. So um, Vic and Jane seem to be having some kind of connection this week. And Sam has beady eyes has noticed it. I think the problem is this was a genuine, from Vic's point of view, being like, oh my God, thank you so much for the time that we spent together when we were a married couple. You've given me two amazing children. I'm so thankful for that. I am dying. And, at the end of the day, he's still in love with Jane as a person for giving him those children. And I
Mhm.
think it's just unfortunate that when he's confessing and saying this stuff that anybody would say in that situation, Sam has overseen that conversation. And, she's like, what about my dad? You
Mhm.
know, I don't, but thing is, it doesn't help matters with the fact that now, I don't know, because 'cause I'm a bit can't I don't think Vic's playing a game. I think he was being genuine in that moment. But, we've seen obviously recent episodes, they've planned this trip to go for a hike, et cetera, and Jane doesn't want to come, but I think you can almost, see in her that she, um I don't know, she doesn't want to come because she's confused by how she's feeling.
Mhm.
Um she obviously realizes, and she's like, "Do you know what? Actually, I'm going to go and I'm going to have this moment with my ex, husband and my kids as a family." And when they realize that she was there, they like go and look for her. They come back and say, "Oh, we can't find her." And then Vic obviously gets upset and he goes to find her and ends up collapsing, etc. But obviously, he comes out of this that, you know, I think Jane has realised that maybe she's got some feelings there that have come back for Vic. Um, and obviously we've seen Sam is off with Jane because she's gone into return her charger, and Vic's there lying on Jane's bed and she's like, "Well, what about dad?" And we've seen the last episode that we've watched, Mike's tried to call Jane and Jane's not answered. So it's a bit kind of like, again, is this where this is going now with this whole storyline? Is it going to be like a, oh, well, you're have feelings for your ex-husband, so maybe that's how Mike goes? I don't know. I'm like, how are we getting Mike out of this? Like,
I
how is
mean,
Mike?
definitely, that's where it's leading to, even though, Vic's dying. I
Yeah,
think we're gonna have a heartstrings moment, and this is a way of Mike going out the picture. We haven't seen him. Like,
no,
you know, he's not even really talked about that much.
no,
So, if it was like, "Oh, yes, yes, because Mike's doing XYZ and, he did this on the weekend," and do you know what I mean? I just feel like we don't really hear much anyway.
no.
Um, so the fact that Jane is missing his calls
Mm,
means she's preoccupied.
yeah.
Whether that's gonna be romantic with Vic or not, I don't know. I
Well,
just think a dying
we
person is very strong as a character.
well, yeah, but also I think we know that Jane's preoccupied and that she's clearly got these feelings because obviously she's not thinking in her workplace.
Mhm,
We've seen Irene Rising,
mhm,
Teresa's not Therese, Susan's given Jane a key. It's been like, this is the key for the joining doors between the two courtyards, etc. And in Jane's, what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, thoughts being elsewhere, and Nicolette coming to convince her to go on this trip. She's left the key in the door. Someone's got in. Someone's made a stink bomb. Farted outside Irene Rising, and this uh, new thing altercation has happened with the whole Irene Rising. Oh my god, Irene Rising, and it seems to be constant drama with Irene Rising in this place. It can never just go well for them. So yeah, Jane's mind is definitely
elsewhere.
elsewhere. Um, yeah, so going on to the Irene Rising and the whole stink bomb situation, and obviously we'll talk about other bits to do with Harold and stuff in a minute. Um, Therese, obviously, um, being Therese, wants to get to the bottom of the situation and is determined to find out who's the culprit, etc. And has obviously a massive go at Curtis, and Curtis is like, whoa, like, I'm just here, um whilst Jane's out, etc. Don't come for me. But that's like typical to raise, isn't it? But I
Mhm,
think what's good is this week has obviously learned to actually, no, I say not she hasn't learned. I would say Susan has learned to speak her mind, to put Therese in her place,
Mhm.
because they've obviously vowed to each other in these last 2 weeks to be, I suppose, more open and honest with each other about this job. Because I think we were saying a couple of weeks back, we were like, we don't think this is going to work. Susan's going to leave. She's going to go and retire. But now the opposites happened, and they seem to
Mhm.
be quite comfortable working with each other. And I'm just like, well, how
Nah,
long
it's
do we
gonna be
think this is
like
going
a
to work?
nah, not very long.
Okay. So gonna be some tiff situation going on there. So let's go to Carl. Love Carl. So Carl is now being bribed by, or has been bribed by
Mhm.
Shirley, the grandma of the pooper. Um, and Carl is being Carl, tries to obviously defend his actions for taking the bike um, to Mac and Susan and everybody who's willing to listen to him. He's like, come on, I can't turn down a free gift. If she wants to give me a free gift, who's going to say no? But obviously, all the meanwhile, we know this is obviously not the right thing to be doing, Carl. Um, Obviously Jacob is then called to the station. He is found out. Um, and Shirley has a go at Carl for going to the police, and she takes his bike away. So Carl is very, very sad about this.
Mm.
Um, but then obviously Mac actually admits that it was her that actually may have caused his issues, because she obviously has spoken to someone who knows this guy. So yes, all a bit of a mess, and poor Carl has lost his bike this week and is feeling very sad for himself. Like, yeah. So I just like he just cracks me up. I'm like, they're like super serious and they just throw in a bit of humor, and they're like, well, who's
Literally,
thinking
he's
about
the only
so
one providing the humor.
no.
Literally.
We just need like somebody else now, don't we? Um Right, where shall we go? We've done Has, we've done Vic, we've done Therese and Susan, Carl. I mean, we could do Harold. Talking of Irene Rising, like, what is Harold hiding? Why is he being off with Carl about wanting to book this, uh, you know, check-in? What, like,
I
I
don't
can't,
know.
I can't think why
Is
he
it
would
is
be.
it that he has dementia,
Well, no, because they worried that before, didn't they?
but maybe he's having symptoms of something else that was related to that.
I don't know. It's just really odd. But anyway, I love having Harold back, and I love how like involved he's getting. And like we said on our last episode, how nice it is to see
Mm.
an older generation in, even in the background of shots and stuff. Like they've obviously got extras
Mhm.
of an older
Mhm.
generation,
Mhm.
which we were saying,
Mhm.
as an actor, is a really it's hard to find jobs when you're of a certain age, like Colette was
Mhm.
saying when we met her.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's bringing a new fresh um audience, I suppose, or not audience, but like
Well,
take
yeah,
on
because I feel like I was thinking about this earlier that before the show ended, we didn't really have any like teenagers slash uni students. It just
mm,
felt kind of from a certain age to a certain age.
mm,
And then we've kind of got that, we've
yeah,
got Byron, Sadie, Mac, Holly, we've
yeah,
got that age group.
yeah,
Obviously, we've got the adult age group, but then it's just so nice to be able to have also the older generation. And with Harold being there and being where he is, it
yeah,
means potentially we could have other characters coming in of an older
mm,
generation. So
mm.
yeah, I think it's really nice.
Yeah, no, definitely. I like having him back. Um, so three other things I want to talk about. I'm going to let you pick in which order we do them. So either Varga Murphy's and the deck situation, Leo and Krista, or Toadie and basically Nell and JJ situation?
We do Varga Murphy's, Toadie,
Hmm.
Leo.
Okay. So Varg Murphy. So Dex is obviously still very unwell in I was going to say prison then. I don't know where that came from. Hospital after being poisoned at the Irene Rising launch party. Um and JJ is obviously blaming himself after what Leo said to him.
Hmm.
Um so Dr. Lee is the now being the new doctor that has been assigned to Dex after they had the issue with Dr. Bowman. But unfortunately, the results have been inconclusive for the poisoning, and the reason they are inconclusive is because of Leo withheld the bottle for a period of time so that any traces of the poison wouldn't show up on the cap of the wine bottle when it was inserted. Um, so yeah, Leo's got himself into a world of trouble there, but we'll move on to him in a minute. Um, Remy's random, I don't know if it's a friend or a sister, not really sure. Maybe her sister has appeared in this last two episodes to do her hair and give her some treatment. What made me laugh is because I was thinking about this. I was like, well, clearly the character or the actor just changed her hair in real life.
Hmm.
So they had to put some person in to come into the show to pretend to change her hair in the show
Hmm.
just to make like continuity. Because
Hmm.
when you first see her, she has her hair in a towel because she just come out the shower. So to pretend that she's got her old hair and then her friend or sister redoes her hair, makes it into
Hmm.
these new like braids or whatever, which is funny. So Dr. Bowman is seen in the recent episodes looking at Dex's file, and obviously it's for actually a genuine reason we found out. But um, he obviously has seen that Remy and Cara have been talking to the HR manager and actually confronts Remy and basically is saying that what they're doing is a smear campaign against him. But the HR lady, she says, well, actually, no, this is a long list of complaints that we've had about this doctor. But unfortunately, nothing has been done. And
Hmm.
Remy's kind of been like, well, why has nothing been done when there's been so many complaints? And it does make you wonder because you hear about these stories
Hmm.
in hospitals of
Yeah.
things happening like this, and you're like, well, why is this person not being struck off? Why are they getting away
Hmm.
with, what they're doing? Um, but it has also come to light that actually the information that Dr. Bowman has on the reason what this poison could be that Dex has ingested, he could actually have merit with what he's saying, and that maybe they should talk to him and listen to him. So I think now it's going to be a case of whether Cara and Remy want to go down that road again and get back in with Dr. Bowman, but it could cause more issues for them. I mean, what would you do in that situation? Like, you want your child to be better, and it could be a potential answer to your questions, but it's from a man who's, making you feel
I'm,
uncomfortable.
I mean, he's being a dick, but ultimately, like, have we not all come across dicks in the workplace? Like, you know, and I think when it comes to, your son
Mm,
being sick, I think that comes first.
mm. And even the HR lady was like, well, I can be in the meeting with him if you don't want to be by
Hmm. Yeah,
yourself.
yeah, yeah.
But I don't think this is the end of it. I think there might be something more that happens because there's got to be, and I'm not saying this potentially could have happened in the show because we don't know, but when you hear about these things, there's more to the story that meets the eye. Sometimes it's not just those little comments, sometimes he might have actually, sexually
Yeah,
abused somebody or something
we
that we
don't
don't
know.
know
Yeah.
about. Yeah. So yes, there could be more to come with that. Um sorry, you said Toadie next, didn't you? So
Yeah.
yeah, so Toadie, this last 2 weeks is still not happy with the whole JJ thing and doesn't want Nell hanging around with him. Um, I'll just note and also noticed, Hugo has had a haircut.
Mhm.
Little Hugo's had a haircut. Um, JJ says that he wants to obviously help at the foundation, and Toadie and Therese find him there with Nell, and obviously Toadie gets very, very angry and kicks him out. Um, and it all comes out that actually Toadie's just being very, very protective of Nell because it was around this kind of time, that's or age, should I say, that Sonia started to go off the rails and
Mhm.
start her drug use,
Mhm.
and she had Nell, what's his name? Callum at quite a young age. And he basically just doesn't want Nell to go down the same road, I suppose, which is understandable as a father. You don't want your child to go through the same thing that your mother done or did, sorry. Um, but obviously Therese talks him down and says, Nell is her own person. Just because, Sonia went through that doesn't mean that Nell's gonna do it. She's got you as a, role model, etc. She's not may not follow down that same road. But Nell, does she invite JJ over to the house, is that right? Or
Yeah.
and then he goes over and they're play fighting, and then obviously they land on top of each other in a very sus way. And at that point, Toadie obviously comes in and catches them and like, what the hell is going on? So he obviously throws JJ out, and now is obviously very upset by this. Um, I think then he speaks to Nell and Kaiser gets to understand, we're just friends. She says we're just friends. And he ends up apologizing to Nell and lifts the ban. But obviously Therese has now found out that actually Nell's got a bit of a crush on JJ. Um, but in the last episode or one that we've seen, I think also Dex might like Nell. So there's a bit of a love
Mhm.
triangle going on here. So, like, what do you think's going to happen here with this situation?
Well, first off, side note, I just want to say it's really nice to be seeing different rooms in these
Yeah,
houses. Like to
yeah,
be able to see bedrooms is actually really nice. We've been seeing Therese and Toadie's bedroom quite a lot.
mm-hmm,
Usually bedrooms are off limits. I
yeah,
think I remember back in the day maybe Ellie's room we saw
yeah,
with Mark, I think, but
yeah.
we very rarely see bedrooms. So fair play that we're actually seeing more rooms than just, the living room kitchen. Um, anyway, with this storyline, well, first of all, I think Toadie is being too much, bearing in mind what he was like as a teenager.
Which everyone says.
Like, I'm just like, chill
Yeah,
out.
you
Like,
can't
she is,
talk.
fair enough if she started going off the rails and being really rebellious and, at school she was always getting detention, but we haven't seen that. So,
No.
she's a good kid.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so chill out, dude. And I think it's really nice that she has Therese to go to about these
Mm-hmm.
things. Um, yeah, I just think JJ will probably think that Nell's too young, so that's just a crush. But then, yeah, Nell's going to be completely oblivious.
And poor Dex's feelings are going to end up getting hurt, aren't they? The problem is, Therese is almost allowing it to happen by her being that person that Nell can go to because Daddy won't let her do it. She's almost being like
Well,
allowing that behavior by
straight
now
away
being
with
like,
that, I thought this is going to end up being an issue between Toadie and Therese.
yeah,
And
he's gonna
potentially
cut.
Mel's going to come back and there's going to be a confiding there and yeah, let it kick off again.
Yeah, because Tony's going to come back from being away at his parents' house
Mm.
and have found out that Teresa said yes to JJ working at Irene Rising and being in that close proximity to Nell get her, her infatuation, and there's going to be some sort of like, and then Tony's going to just absolutely flip
Well,
his lid.
because at the end
So,
of the day, Toadie's going to say, you don't have a say on how to parent my kids. And that's where
Yeah.
it's gonna be like, "But we're married."
Yeah.
So,
So
yeah.
you when we married, you agreed that it was a, you
Mhm.
know, I am a proxy parent, a second parent to these children, so I should be
Yeah.
allowed to well, that's how I view it anyway. I should be allowed to discipline them like they're my own.
Mhm.
Because I'm pretty sure that, if Imogen or Piper were of an age where they were, doing
Needing
something
that, yeah.
bad, yeah, then Toadie would step in.
Yeah.
But yeah. Right, so let's go to Leo. And so
Mhm.
obviously, there's lots of questioning about who's obviously poisoned the wine. Was it targeted at him in the vineyard? Was it targeted at Irene Rising? Was it targeted at um, Hillary, who was the person whose wine bottle it was? Um, like first and foremost, Leah shouldn't have kept that bottle.
Mhm.
Like, you know, why do that? I get what he was doing. He was trying to protect his product but like, you would never do that anyway. So Aaron tells Leo that actually there has been a podcast, which made me laugh, made me think of us. That his is now covering the poisoning and obviously doing speculations and things like that. But Leo has found a picture of Shannon, who is Krista's drug dealer, at the vineyard, and she is obviously questioned over it. Um, and he ends up going into the hospital to visit Dex and apologizing to JJ of obviously accusing him of, leaving the wine and etc. etc. Um, Obviously, Shannon denies it. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. Um, but yeah, basically, this podcast gets hold of the fact that, Leo was holding onto the bottle, more information is released, people at the vineyard start cancelling their bookings. Leo's having a go at, everyone he possibly can in sight, even, Andrew and Sadie, police saying they're not doing their jobs correctly. Um, and then obviously we see that awkward moment where uh, we realize actually Holly is the one that has leaked this information. Um, and in these recent episodes, Leo has obviously said to the house share that in order to regain assets, he's going to have to liquidize things, and that includes the house share that those guys live in. Um, he also finds out that Holly is obviously the one that leaked information because she stupidly tries to blackmail the podcast host with services for cheap atlasseters. And obviously, she goes straight onto her podcast with this information and leaks saying, someone at the hotel has been offering me services to hide the fact that she told me the information about the poisoning, etc. Yeah, and he basically outs Holly and says, you have ruined my life. Which in fact, Holly has done a pretty good job of
Mhm.
fucking things up for him, hasn't she?
Mhm.
Um, Krista's offered to buy the house, and Leo said no. And in the last episode, last episode that we've seen, so when this goes out, we'll still have not seen one episode, but Leo has learned of a new poisoning, and I think Holly is going to now try some, as she always does, when she gets herself into a situation, she then has to try and get herself out of it by getting overly involved. So I think she's going to try and solve this case, who who's been poisoned, why they're poisoning, etc., etc. Um, but yeah, I'm just like, why is Leo saying no to all this help? Like, why hasn't he told Paul? Because I'm pretty sure Paul would be more than happy to help him.
He's very proud. I think he's always been that, and I think, you know, Paul and Leo have had their troubles in the past, and I think he just wants to be able to sort it out himself. Like,
Mm,
it's his problem, and he's a big boy. He doesn't want handouts. He doesn't want to be helped. And I guess if you accept a handout or help, it makes you feel like you failed. And I think he would rather do everything that he possibly could to try and save the situation than, yeah, accept help, because that's both are failures, but at least one is, well, I didn't
but
accept help.
he technically hasn't failed. Like, he succeeded really well at what he's done. The
Mhm.
only thing, and the reason that he's not doing well in this situation has happened, is because he withheld the bottle of wine, which
Mm.
was the
Mhm.
catalyst behind everything, and the reason why they don't understand what
Mhm.
poison is that Dex has taken. So
Mhm.
he really has kind of, you know, dug himself a little bit of a hole to
Mhm.
begin with,
Mhm.
but then other people have kind of added fuel to the fire, which is the
Mhm.
reason why he's in that situation now. But like, he could easily get himself out of that situation, I think, by accepting
But also
just something.
it's not his say. At the end of the day, if he puts the house on the market, who's to say that Krista's not gonna go, "Okay, I'm a buyer." 'Cause
Mm,
she could be an anonymous buyer, "Here's my offer." He could accept
yeah,
that offer and, "Oh, look, it's been bought." And at the end of the
yeah,
day, he has no say on that whatsoever. If she wants to buy the house because she wants to invest,
yeah,
like, it just
and
seems a
that,
bit odd,
yeah, and that,
and she was saying, "I'm not just doing it for you, I'm doing it for
no,
my friends."
yeah. And that could be the route that it goes down, but I think in his head, there's also something along the lines of, "Well, what if we don't work out and that you've bought
Yeah.
my house and then, like, we don't
But at
but
the end of the
but
day,
like you're
she will
saying,
end up
it's
being like a live-in landlord. She'll just have like a loads of tenants.
yeah,
Like, it's not really like she's going, here you go, here's X amount of money.
yeah,
She's getting something out of it. It's an
mm,
investment for her.
yeah,
So, and her family have shitloads of money.
yeah, I know.
Whatever.
Anyway.
Man pride, I don't know.
But anyway.
But yeah, in terms of Holly, um, really liking her character, really liking the messes that she gets herself into.
Is this the big mess that she's gonna get herself into that Alan was talking about
I
when we
think so.
interviewed
I
him?
think, he did say she's got a lot of really good storylines coming up. And she does seem to be. What I like is I love the fact that we keep getting a nod to Izzy all
Yeah.
the time. And it's like,
But
oh,
I almost
God, that's
don't
something my
want
mum would do.
Yeah, but I don't want her to be like her mum though.
No,
Like,
but
do you
you
know what
can
I
tell
mean?
she's
Like,
consciously trying not to be, but
yeah,
it's her nature.
yeah,
Like, and everything she does, the difference between Izzy and Holly is that everything Holly does is to try and help someone else or
mm,
please someone else. She loves a bit of a gossip. So I
yeah,
think this is where the issue is in terms of like it being spilt about,
yeah,
the wine and Leo keeping the wine.
yeah,
Um, but now she's like, I feel really bad. Whereas
yeah.
Izzy doesn't really have that much of a conscience. So
No,
I
yeah,
do think there's progress with Holly.
she does
But
stuff, but she does it in the wrong way.
yeah, and I think bless her, she's battling the fact that her mother is her mother
Yeah,
and the way that she is, and she's trying desperately not to be her mother, but sometimes she just can't help it.
yeah. Okay, so now let's move on to our top five dads of Erinsborough. So where should we start, Natasha?
Okay, so yeah, at number 5, we've put down Brad Willis. Now, just this is really since 2012. That's kind of what we're covering.
Mm-hmm.
Just an FYI. But yeah, no, I've put number 5, Brad Willis. I think,
As I say, tell me your thoughts behind
I
why
think,
Brad.
I think Brad because I mean, we haven't really mentioned him that much, and like, I had a bit of a crush on him. So that's kind of why.
Surfer dude.
So, a bit of a deal, to be honest, for me. But no, that's not why. Um, I think his dedication to
Hmm.
Josh. I
Yeah,
think Josh, with all his swimming competitions and giving up his job to become his coach, um, yeah, and he put himself into such bad positions, and then when Josh didn't want to be a swimmer anymore, it was like, hold on, I've dedicated almost all of your life to being your coach, your swimming
Mm.
coach. And now what the hell? So then he started in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, he wasn't necessarily a good husband.
No,
So
but this is about being a
this is
dad,
about
not
being a
about being a
father. And
yeah.
I think he's always been there for his kids. I think he has been sometimes the cooler of the parents. And I think that's because Therese is the breadwinner.
Mm-hmm.
So I think she cares more about what the kids get up to.
But
But
I would
yeah, and then
say
he also
even
did the teaching as well. So yeah.
yeah, even with the girls, so like Imogen and Piper, like as much as he could be an annoyance at times for them, so Piper with the whole Tyler
Mhm,
situation, um, you know, Imogen always being almost like the goody two shoes and never getting into trouble. When there was like some serious shit like Imogen's bulimia storyline or you know um the situation again with Piper and Tyler, like he was a bit more on the like level head, like understanding of that like situation. He would always find some way to, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Like, I suppose from a dad's perspective point of view, whereas softer approach, I suppose, whereas because Therese has always been like this businesswoman, like hard hitting,
mhm.
uh, you know, like you said,
Basically,
the,
he was the good parent. She was like the bad parent, good cop, bad cop.
yeah. And he almost, he was a dad and there for them when he like needed to be, I suppose.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Definitely.
so even for his girls, I think he was really good. It wasn't just all about Joshua, although his main focus was Josh.
Hmm.
He did really well with the dealing with those girl
Problems, yeah,
situations. Yeah, basically.
definitely.
So moving on, obviously, I know, well, not obviously, you guys don't know, but number four for us is actually Paul. Um, no, he is the guy that we literally love to hate. Um, but when it comes to family and his loyalty to family, he goes above and beyond
Hmm.
for his family, especially his children. Now we know that he doesn't have a very good relationship with well, oh my God, what's his name? The one that tried to basically kill him in the plane.
Robert,
Is it Robert Robertson?
Robert. I'm sure it was Robert.
Harlow's
Hmm.
dad, is that right?
Hmm.
Yeah. And he's never obviously he's had strained relationships with Elle before. He's had strained relationships with Amy. He's had a strained relationship with Leo at times and even David in recent years. I think and even Daniel, who wasn't his son, but he was his nephew,
Very
uh,
fatherly.
very fatherly towards him, and again, strained at times, but then always managed to bring it back. He always manages to redeem himself,
Hmm.
but like it's just that over the top um stuff that he does that he doesn't need to do to almost prove himself, but like that's just Paul, I suppose, isn't it?
Hmm.
I mean, like you love Paul, like how do you like feel about him as like a father and stuff?
I mean, yeah, I think he's like Holly in the sense that he meddles where he shouldn't really meddle, but you
Yeah.
know that the motive for doing that is because of protection. He wants to protect
Mm-hmm.
his family.
Yeah.
So this is where he does get the title of lovable rogue because he does a lot of really, really bad stuff, but it's always family. It's
Yeah.
always family,
Mm.
and they get pissed off with him. But yeah, like you say, he always, even when he's fallen out with a family member, he's always trying to get it back, and then he
Mm-hmm.
eventually gets it back. It's like he doesn't give up. And that's kind of what you want from a parent because your parent isn't going to be perfect. And we know that Paul is less than perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But you also want a parent that's going to be able to try to get back in your good books if they do
Mm,
something wrong. So I think, yeah, I think that's a fair position to have,
yeah,
definitely.
definitely.
So yeah, at number three, I think this is a joint one because in their family it's an unconventional family. It's Aaron and David. Obviously David isn't with us anymore.
No.
But yeah, no, their family set up with Isla, Nicolette being mother, and the two dads.
Hmm.
Um, I didn't really want to just put Aaron down because
No.
then that would be doing David a disservice.
Yeah.
And I think being that it is Father's Day and really kind of remembering that there are different family setups
Mm,
in modern society, and this is a different family setup as well. So yeah, having two dads, and I think again, like David has that streak, that pull streak. He kind of will do anything for his family. He will do
hmm.
anything for his kids.
Hmm.
Um, and I think Aaron with that is also the same. I think Aaron's kind of the softer approach. I think David was very stubborn,
Hmm.
very kind of set in his ways. He would want to do something a certain way, and Aaron would always be the kind of the voice of reason of seeing the other perspective.
Yeah.
And I think it's a shame that we no longer have David because if we saw, in the future we see Isla grow up, it would have been really nice to have seen how they would have parented
But
Isla.
also just going along that lines of Isla growing up, and not to discredit Aaron in any way here, but obviously um David is actually obviously biologically
Yeah,
Ida's father. So in terms of like ethnicity and the way she grows
yeah.
up in that world, she's not gonna necessarily. I know she's got Leo and she's got Abigail, but she's not necessarily gonna have somebody in
Mm.
her life that is the person that knows about that side of like the family and the role model in that sense
But I
and how to
think
be.
Aaron is very sensitive. I think he is very, like I said, the softer approach.
Yeah.
He will not want Isla not to know where she comes from.
No, and
And he's very
like I said,
sentimental.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
can
yeah.
imagine him pulling out, a photo album and saying, "Oh, this is your dad, and this is your family, and your uncle." And yeah, I think, yeah,
Yeah, it's not going to be a case where he's going to be, forgotten about. You know, um, yeah, and it's a real shame, I think,
yeah.
like that she doesn't, uh, have both her fathers in her life in that sense, but also as characters on a show to still have a gay two
Mhm.
father
Mhm.
couple
I
on the
agree.
street.
Mm.
Um, I know we've got, but not obviously not talking about mothers, but I know we've got Remy and Cara, but it was
It's
nice.
a representation thing. I think, families now are so unconventional in different ways.
Yeah,
And I think that it's really good if you're, a kid with two dads, for
yeah,
example, to see that you've got two dads, like to
mm,
see two mums, like to go,
yeah.
oh, okay, well, that's normal.
It's really funny actually you say that. So I don't know if anyone knows this, but I work in childcare and I work with children. And one of the children said to me the other day, I can't remember what they said. I think it was something like, "Well, everyone's just got a mummy and daddy." And I had to stop them and I was like, I said, that's not actually true. I
Mhm.
said, some people do have two mummies and some people have two daddies. And they just looked at me as if to be like,
What?
what? Because they
Mm.
don't know any different.
Yeah,
They've got a mum and dad, and that's all
yeah,
they're used to.
yeah.
Um, so it was really interesting. So I think that's why I think it's so important for
Hmm.
these characters and storylines and situations like two mums and two dads to be shown on
Hmm.
TV in this way so that generations that are coming up now
Yeah,
get to see it. I mean, it is more popular now. You do see it more
yeah,
often. But I think, yeah, it was really great that we had Aaron and David as that highlighted couple to show this. Um,
definitely.
and how they parent as two fathers. We're not saying that Nicolette's not in the picture because she
Yeah,
100%
yeah,
is,
yeah.
but obviously because we're going down the Father's Day route,
Hmm.
that's just why I want to see focus more on Aaron and David.
Definitely.
But yeah, anyway. So number two is the Toadmeister, Toady, Jared Rebecca. Um, God, where do we even start with Toady? For me, like, not only is he a father to obviously Nell, before even Nell was in the picture, he adopted and took on
Hmm.
Callum, who was the son of, this woman that, he met, who he fell in love with. There's a big backstory there, uh, with, like, her drug abuse and stuff. And, there was just the way he adopted him and took him in and took him under his wing, um, I think makes him, uh, what am I trying to say? Like, I don't know, like, it helped him to be, I suppose, the father that he was for now, and now is for Hugo. Because you think, actually, well, Hugo was a child that came out of a weird situation as well. The whole Andrea and him, you know, yes, he's his biologically, but the mother not being Sonia, and it's just the dynamics of his family again are so like mismatched and stuff. But regardless of where a child's come from, who the mother is, who the father is, etc., he literally has just been like, right, okay, here are my kids. Callum, now, Hugo, they're mine. These are my kids. Doesn't matter the situation. And he will just father them exactly the same way that he would say Nell, for example, because Nell is the only one, really, if you think, is like a child that's come from a normal setup in his life, like him and Sonia. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't. What's your opinion on like Toady? Like,
Yeah, I think he's really up there because of the whole Callum thing. I think
mm,
to be able to take on a boy that's not your own
mm,
and raise him as a son
mm-hmm,
exactly and equally. Like, I just love those moments between them and seeing, when we watch back the old episodes and seeing, you know, Toadie and Callum grow up from Callum being a little boy to a teenager, seeing that relationship. And it's as if, no, he's my dad.
yeah.
He's my dad. Like, doesn't matter about biology. He's my dad. That's it. There's no
It is.
question.
It is weird actually saying that because I like, yeah, when you see Callum like appear in like episodes, he comes back now and again. There is no thought where you go, oh, hang on a minute, Callum's not his. You
No,
straight
you
away
completely forget
just
because
think,
he
oh yeah,
did such a
Toadie's,
good job with Callum.
yeah,
I love Callum. I'm a fan of Callum. I'd love to have
yeah,
him back.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, with recent storylines, with like we discussed earlier with Nell, like he's doing what a dad should do.
yeah,
Like you have to be protective over your kids.
yeah,
Um, and sometimes I think, what would Sonia say about this situation? What would Sonia do? And I guess maybe that's what his drive is potentially in his head, especially with Nell. Well, what would Sonia say? What would Sonia do in this
mm.
situation? Um, and I
And I
don't
think
think that is what Therese is doing at the moment is what
Sonia would
Sonia
do.
would do.
No,
So
talking of that, you were saying that he's got that, hasn't he? Where he's like, well, okay, situation with now, okay, what would Sonia do? Or, um, but think about Hugo.
mm,
Like Teresa's side is the only sole parent in that situation that can make a decision for Hugo. He's not going to go, well, what would Andrea do? Because he's not going to, hell no,
no,
is
he
he going to
doesn't
ask
really.
Andrea?
Yeah,
She's completely out of the
yeah.
picture. If they thought to ever bring her back, oh my God, I'd be like, absolutely not. So, like, in that situation, Hugo, in a way, is dealt a better card because at the end of the day, it's Toadie's decision and that's it. That's what says, you know. But with now, he's always going to have in the back of his head, oh, but what would Sonia do?
Yeah, yeah.
And like that, like, so yeah, it's a
But
weird,
also Hugo's gonna be because he was younger. he will always probably see Therese as a bit of a mother figure. Whereas,
Well,
because
even
there's
we're forgetting Mel. I think
yeah, but I
Mel is
don't think Mel
more.
was for that long, because if they got married and then they broke up, do you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't
Yeah,
actually that much time.
but
I mean, there has been a bit of a jump.
Hugo was younger when they obviously first
I don't
got
know. I feel
together.
like younger kids, they're a bit more flexible with things. I think when you get to, like, Nell's age, it's like, well, hold on a second. Like, you're a
Mm.
teenager. Well, hold on a second. So yeah. But anyway, yeah, Toadie's a
Cody's at number
number
2.
two. Um, so yeah, at number one, I don't even know if he's worth number one. From what we've just said about Toadie, Toadie
I
should
feel
really be
like
one.
we've spoken about him a lot in recent
Yeah,
episodes as
but
well.
I think because he's actually a dad to us, it's obvious and a no-brainer. But it's Carl Kennedy at number one. Um, I mean,
Just another plug there for Alan Fletcher.
yeah, another plug. Um, I don't know. I mean, what is there to say? I mean, he hasn't really been a very good husband, but he's done well with his kids. He had that whole situation with Holly when Holly was born. Oh my God. But you'd always see him going off to London to go and visit. It was very important for him that Susan accept Holly and treat
Hmm.
Holly as if, like,
Hmm.
she's a second mother to her.
Yeah.
So I think when it comes to his kids, he does right by them.
Hmm.
Definitely from way back in the 90s, he was a bit more strict with his kids. Um,
Oh, he used to not let Libby get away with
yeah.
anything.
Um, I mean, she's the only girl, his little girl, really, up
Yeah.
until Holly, obviously.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think just generally also the fact that, they took both him and Susan took Toadie on board. And
Well,
they're constantly taking lots of different people into the house, although they haven't really recently. I mean,
well,
Mel, yes, but not youngsters.
Libby's son, Ben.
I mean, yeah, shouldn't really
Sorry.
talk about Felix Mallard on honestly. 10 years
I apolo-
younger.
I apologize, guys. I'm so sorry.
I mean,
Yeah,
we should really do a top five on cradle snatching moments, really, because that's one of them. Yeah, no,
it's not that kind of podcast, guys. It's not
no.
that kind of podcast.
Ugh. Yeah. I don't know. I think for me, it's just the nostalgia, the fact that he's always been there, him and Susan. We had Susan as number one for the Mother's Day, and it just made sense to have Carl for Father's Day.
We don't really need to give an
I don't,
examples
I
as to
don't, yeah,
why,
I don't
do
really
we?
need to. I mean, if I call them Soap Mum and Soap Dad, like that, they have to be number one, just would be stupid. So, you
Mm,
guys should have put a bet on it.
yeah.
Would have won some money. But yeah, I think that's it.
Anyway, I think, yeah, that is actually all we have time for this episode and for this series.
Yeah. We better go celebrate with our dads.
Yeah, I mean, let's go and do that. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, so happy Father's Day to all the dads out there in the UK. And we do obviously want to remember all of you guys out there who unfortunately no longer see their dads or don't have their dads around. You are obviously constantly in our thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah, they are. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, and we will see you
See you when we see you.
Bye.